When people hear my story, they probably think, well, that must be nice. He must have had a trust fund or parents that took care of him or a better paying job, or he didn't have debt, he didn't have kids. And I get that. Valid. I can tell you, whenever we see people who have something that we want, aka we're jealous of something that they have, and I'm not saying that you're jealous of me because you shouldn't be. I can tell you that right now, or the situation I was in, nothing like that. But whenever we see people that have something that we want, I know I do this, I rationalize to myself reasons for why I don't have that thing. Because we have to be able to live with ourselves. If I go out there and say, I want this, we see somebody else who's got it, we have to say, okay, well, there must be some reason why I don't, right? If I want to say I want to work for myself, I want to own a business, and I see somebody who does that, and they're happy about it, and they're living life, and everything looks successful, please know, take everything with a grain of salt. Everything you see on social media specifically, and even when you're talking with other people, I can guarantee you nothing is ever as good as it seems. And most of the time, your own situation is never as bad as it seems, or as bad as it feels. So I just need you to know that to start. And I want to give you some more clarity kind of on my positions here. Because yes, a lot of this is going to talk about if your goal is to leave your corporate job, that's the formula I have. That's what I enjoy talking about, because I believe that job security is a scam. But I'm not saying you have to quit your job. You have to leave your job. Because granted, if my situation had been different, say, fast forward to today, if I was still holding a job, we just had a little 5-month-old baby, and I'm looking at him, and I would think, oh, it could be too risky for me to leave. If I had more debt than I had, if I had more student loans, if I hadn't met the people that I had, if I didn't have the investment vehicles that I had, I get it. And I consider myself lucky. However, no matter what your story or circumstance is, everything here I'm going to talk about can apply to you. And I think even if you cannot quit your job, or even if you don't want to quit your job, if the goal is to not work for yourself, everything I can talk about I think will only benefit you more. Because no matter your circumstance, I think if you can create more freedom and autonomy in your life, specifically income diversification, it's only going to give you more options. Let me tell you a bit of my story. So in my early 20s, I left the job in order to start a sports nutrition business. We ended up starting a gym too. And for 4 of those years, I was dead broke. At one point in time, I even had to pay groceries with the spare change in my truck. That's what it had come to. At one point in time, I was living in a roach-infested apartment. Luckily, that's when I met my wife too. So I knew she liked me for me. However, all that to say, the only reason I ended up getting the corporate job that I got in medical device sales, which is a very competitive industry because it's well-paying, it's cool work, the only reason I got it is because of the skill set that I developed in those 4 years. Building a business that went to zero. Taking something from 0 to 1, there's so much you're going to learn in that process. You're going to learn marketing. You're going to learn sales, dealing with sales objectives. You're going to learn how to gain customers. You're going to learn how to keep customers. You're going to learn communication, inventory management, dealing with vendors. You're going to learn P&Ls and balance sheets and taxes. There's so much that you're going to learn in starting your own thing that is only going to benefit you in the corporate world if your goal is to stay there. 1 is going to pad your resume. 2 is going to pad your skill set. And 3, think of it as an insurance policy. If you're on the side building some little small, we'll call it a FU fund, if the day ever comes where you just can't stand it, you can't stand this manager anymore, things change at work, whatever it might be, and you have this thing on the side going, that gives you so much more confidence when you show up at work that, dude, I don't have to deal with this stuff. And that's what I want for you. Because say you're a designer and you've been working for a corporate company for a while now. However, on the side, you've been building your own freelance business and you've gained clients, you've gained all the knowledge on how to deal with them, how to keep them, all the above, all the things I just listed when working for yourself. You go to interview for a next job, you interview for a promotion, you're asking for a pay raise, whatever it might be. They're going to look at you against the other candidates and say, oh, wow, he's got a lot more things he can speak to in interviews. He's got a lot more just experience. He's a self-starter. He's a go-getter. And then again, if things aren't going your way, okay, cool. I'm out. I got my own thing I can pour into. And that is such a freeing feeling. It's about giving you permission to start something on your own. If you've been thinking about it, this is not any pressure to leave your job, because I get it. Everybody's situation is different, and you might not be able to, you might not want to, and that's okay. This is for everybody who just wants to be a builder, be a creator, who wants more out of their life, who doesn't want to leave anything on the field when it's all said and done. I don't want my son to grow up and think that the best he can do is just go work for somebody else from 8 to 5 every single day. I want him to know he has the power within him to create something for himself, from himself. He can be in charge of his own destiny. And so can you, so can I, so can we all. And we can build things together, and it's gonna make us all just happier, better people. All right, so let's talk about the 3 levels of autonomy. Well, 4. Because the first level is 0. No autonomy. You're working for the man, clocking in, working for the paycheck. And just to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with that. I just need you to realize that you are dependent upon that employer, dependent upon nothing happening to your sector. You're dependent upon nothing happening to the greater economy that's going to affect that sector. And again, with the mass layoffs and restructuring and everything else, nothing's guaranteed. So just know, level 0 is 0. No autonomy. You're working for somebody else. Your total paycheck and income is all dependent upon them. Again, that's okay. I want you to diversify, and we're going to talk about that and how to do so. So step 2 is a little bit of micro autonomy. So you're still working, you're still taking that W-2 income, but you are investing it slowly, but surely into something that has momentum, that can build, that can gain, that can eventually be something that you can step away from. It's that first $500 a month that you're earning outside of your regular W-2. Because everybody thinks the big change happens whenever you're able to quit and walk away. I can tell you, for me, a light bulb moment happened whenever I made my first $500 from a land flip. That validated this concept to me of land flipping. And then eventually note investing came. And then it was eventually buying businesses. And all that came much later down the road. However, it was slowly building by buying back tax properties for $50 and flipping them on eBay. That's where it started. And all that was being put back into growing that. You could also just continue to put it into that small FU fund that we talk about. That's a great place to be. There's a little bit of micro autonomy. Level 2 is hybrid autonomy. This is where that side income starts to really grow and can be something that you can actually rely on. Now, it's not something that totally takes over your W-2 income, but it's something that's maybe it's catching up. This is the spot where it grows into that. This is a spot where this is something real. This is something you can count on. This is something you can rely on. This is something you can go to parties and tell people that you do, because it's an actual thing. It's not just a dream. It's not just a hope. It's not just a prayer. This is something you are actually doing and accomplishing, and it's growing. You got your W-2 income and you got your actual side income. This can be real estate and rentals. Like I said, note investing, land investing were my avenues. You could do the same thing. You could be buying businesses. You could be investing in other people's businesses. You could be a hard money lender. Anything that's going to be giving you income outside of your W-2. Social media, content creation, whatever that might be, your alley. Going back to the designer example, you're freelancing, you're contracting, you're consulting. Anything that has actual legs on it and is starting to grow and gain that momentum is an awesome place to be, because now you're a double earner, essentially. And I think that's where most people should be for a while before you actually step away from your job. This allows you to build the machine that's going to allow you to leave your job, but it's also going to pay down your debts. It's also going to let you build up that reserve where they know now that FU fund has turned into an actual 1-year savings of living expenses where you can comfortably walk away from your job if you need to, or something happens at your job, God forbid. You're like, okay, I know I'm at least good for 12 months, and you can A, give this thing a full go, or B, kick back and relax a little bit while you continue to search for another job. Awesome place to be. hybrid autonomy. Lastly, full autonomy. You're in charge of your destiny. You're no longer depending upon an employer. You may depend on your clients and customers and followers, whatever other machine you build. You're still going to be relying on other people. I mean, that's just the world that we live in. However, your full autonomy is where you are totally in charge of your calendar and your schedule and your income potential. Whatever that might be, your income is now fully from something outside of your W-2. The great thing about that not many people realize is that when you're a W-2 earner, that tax comes right out without you doing anything about it. Taxman gets paid first. You come over here to this side where you're a business owner and you're getting K-1 income, distribution income, you get to pay the taxman after you get paid. Me personally, I love that. So again, I hope this helps you realize that no matter your situation, this can apply to you. You can start to build on the side, just little by little. It allows you to test, allows you to experiment, see what works, see what doesn't, see what you like, see what you don't, all in the sake of just giving you more freedom and flexibility in your life. That's what this is all about. So, in the next episode, if you're serious about quitting your job, I'm going to give you step 1 to doing so. So stay tuned.